Welcome to this week's Modern Craftsman podcast, where Nick and myself sit down and have a conversation with our good friend and business colleague, Morgan Molitor. She is a powerhouse entrepreneur, a dedicated mother, and a beacon of creativity in everything that she touches. Today, we'll explore the ways motherhood has influenced her approach to business and how her definition of success has evolved over the years. We'll chat about her connection to astrology signs, gemstones, and sage, all part of her unique perspective on life and balance. Kind of a joke, kind of serious there. We do love you, Morgan. She will share the daily non-negotiable routines and self-care practices that help her balance work, family, and personal growth. And we'll dig into the power of boundaries, how setting them has allowed her to create freedom and space for what truly matters. She'll open up about the mentors and role models who have guided her on her path of self-discovery and realization, and her approach to goal setting, both personally and professionally. We will also talk to her about her dreams and aspirations, both inside and outside of work, and talk about the legacy that she hopes to build for her family, her peers, and the industry. We'll ask Morgan what keeps her going through the challenges, whether it's the drive to create said legacy, the pursuit of freedom, more time, or just the joy of building opportunities for her family. And of course, we'll wrap things up with some words of wisdom for other parents, especially mothers who are thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship. This conversation is packed with insight and heart, and we cannot wait for you to hear Morgan's incredible story. So stay tuned. Are you guys struggling to get your projects off the ground smoothly and profitably? Lucky for you, Nick and I have created a course that is exactly what you need. In a few lessons, we'll supply you with the skills to plan, budget, and communicate effectively, setting your projects up for success from day one. Without these critical tools, you're risking costly delays, budget overruns, and frustrated clients. Do not miss this opportunity to transform how you start every job. This knowledge and this course is a game changer. Enroll now and ensure that every project kicks off right. If you guys have any questions about this course, reach out to me, Tyler, at trghomeconcepts.com. You can find the course on moderncraftsman.co. There's a course tab that you can click on that will bring you to the sales page for this course. If you have any questions, any concerns, reach out to me, Tyler, at trghomeconcepts.com. I'll gladly have a conversation with you. You should be able to recoup your investment day one, the first pre-construction that you land, and generate additional revenue, a completely different revenue stream for your business by incorporating pre-construction services into your business. So if you have any questions, let me know. If not, you can find it on moderncraftsman.co. Hit the drop-down tab that says courses, and it will lead you to our pre-construction course. This podcast is brought to you by Andersen Windows. As builders, when we select products to spec, our focus is centered on delivering what best suits the customer's needs and aligns with the unique requirements of that project. With Andersen, the commitment is the same. It extends beyond the immediate and considers the legacy of not only their brand, but ours too. From the innovative Fibrex composite material that offers both performance and aesthetic appeal at a budget-friendly price point, to the top-tier A-Series product line, boasting Andersen's most energy-efficient windows and doors to date, their product range covers a spectrum of building requirements. Andersen is cognizant that the products they manufacture contribute to the legacy we are crafting. With an emphasis on fewer callbacks and sustained product performance, Andersen conducts rigorous testing that surpasses industry standards. Our collaboration with Andersen goes beyond the transactional. It's a partnership in building brands and crafting legacies. They understand that while it's their products integrated into our projects, it's the collective brands and legacies we're shaping together. Discover more about their comprehensive product offerings at andersenwindows.com. That's ANDERSEN Windows.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Buildertrend. If you missed our recent webinar with Buildertrend on 7 ways to keep clients happy and leads knocking on your door, don't worry. You can catch the replay. This 1-hour webinar is packed with expert tips on improving client communication, setting clear expectations, and using Buildertrend's tools to increase client satisfaction and your business's profitability. Head to buildertrend.com/mchappyclients to watch it on demand. It's free and full of valuable insights you can implement today to keep your clients happy and your lead pool full. This podcast is also brought to you by Velux. Have you ever wished you could put one more window in a living room, or wondered how to add more natural light to a bathroom or closet? With Velux skylights, you can enhance any space with natural light, making any room feel bigger, brighter, and better. And natural light is always enhanced by fresh air. Velux skylights open to let fresh air in from above, and built-in rain sensors close them at the first sign of bad weather. The best part about skylights, you can add all the features of a window to your client's home without sacrificing privacy. Visit veluxusa.com/remodeler to find a Velux products that will add natural light to any space in your next build. So I have a legit intro for you. Are you ready?
Oh no, I don't know. Am I?
What? Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm using all of the information that you provided me and the knowledge to create an intro for you for the podcast, and I want to see how it is. Are you ready?
Oh boy. Sure.
Are you ready? Hold on, drum roll. Let's hear it. All right, here we go. We're gonna roll right into this. So today, we're thrilled to be joined by our good friend and associate, Morgan Molitor. She's a co-founder and creative director of Construction to Style. We'll call it C2S moving forward.
I like
right?
it. Yeah.
A design and build firm she established in 2012 with her husband, Jamie, based out of the Minneapolis area. Is this all right so far?
This is right.
Cool. Morgan's background was initially in fashion merchandising and marketing, but then she transitioned from the corporate world to the home industry, where she now oversees content creation, marketing, brand partnerships, interior design, and styling at C2S. How? So far, so good?
So far, so good.
Damn.
Gosh.
Beyond Construction to Style,
Boy.
Morgan and Jamie have expanded their ventures to include Neon Lion, a media company, and Resilience to Reform, a nonprofit initiative focused on second chances. Morgan is also involved in organizing the Contractor Coalition Summit with Nick, Brad, and myself, which is promoting community and collaboration with the industry. Her commitment to authenticity and transparency has been the guiding principle of Construction to Style since its inception. She's dedicated to creating transformative designs and fostering community impact through her various endeavors. Morgan is a wildly passionate and energetic entrepreneurial mother of 3 who we're lucky enough to call both a friend and a business partner. So without further ado, welcome, Morgan.
That's so nice.
How was it? Good?
That's so good. I was nervous. I was like, what are you going to come up with?
I feel like you just completely leveled up in terms of a podcast host.
So all right, let's dig into that a little bit. Yeah, so I've been running a lot the past 6 months or so, just trying to be more consistent with that, and I'm getting tired of listening to music at times, so I'll listen to podcasts, just trying to, better myself, educate myself, become more well-rounded. And I realized that people who listen to podcasts, there has to be some sort of a hook, and we have to get into it, even if our podcast isn't initially starting out like that, that we should jump into it, because people make a decision whether they want to listen to a podcast within the first few seconds.
Yeah.
And every time I would start my midweek, it'd be like just the normal crap, beating around the bush, what's going on. And like, nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want my midweeks. I started actually going back afterwards and recording a separate intro after I've recorded the podcast to lead into it, just with like, hey, here's what we're going to get into today, if you stick around to find out. So I'm trying to implement that into our main podcast as well, which I kind of like. It's cool.
I will say about your guys' podcast, though, I like you can feel that it's organic and natural, because sometimes you listen to podcasts and they're not like that. So
Yeah,
don't miss that part, I guess.
No, and I don't think that we will. I think that it's just good. I mean, our guests are putting a ton of time aside to hop on,
Right.
and I want to make sure that everyone knows who they are, what our relationship with them is, and hopefully help them as well. I realize that like so many people go on podcasts also to help get the word out about themselves, or cross into a different network, or expose themselves to other communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like we're trying to do that with our guests, and we want to give you the platform to do so as well.
I love it.
Cool. So what's going on with you? Who's
Oh,
making all that noise in the background? And I feel like dishes are banging. And
for real?
I thought I heard something.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, maybe it's my house.
I'm like, there better not be. There's no school today, so I legit walked downstairs and I was like, you guys get in the basement, furthest room away. And I was like, you don't come out of there until, I was like, give me 2 hours. You can
wait for voting.
Huh?
Is that why they don't have school? Because for voting?
Well, there's some teacher workshop, but yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's because of daylight savings and then voting, but who knows?
Yeah.
We were slated to do like site work on a project in the city today, and we got an announcement saying no street work is allowed. And I was like, why? And they're like, for voting. I'm like we don't have like Tyler, like you're that was insane. 2 hours standing in line. Like I was in, no line, done. I was out of there in under 5 minutes.
What was your voting procedure like? Did you have to like print out a form and then
I walk into the library, they hand me the thing, I fill it out, put it in a machine, I leave, and I got lunch.
It was so from like 7 a.m. people were getting there, and it was like 2 hour wait. So people were waiting, going back
bananas.
to 10, 3.5 hours to get through the line. So then we were like, all right, let's go there after the lunch rush, get there at like 1. It's 2:30. You guys were like, let's bump things till 3. At that point, they're there for like 2 hours, and people are like, oh no, once you get into the building, it zigzags back and forth. It's another 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Which is just like, we have a few districts in where we vote, and they only had 3 booths. It's just a mess. But other people around us are like, yeah, we walked in and out.
Yeah.
It's like AI and stuff. This is what I've been thinking about. I'm like, with all that, like, how is there not a better way?
That's exactly what I said.
Oh, I feel like that is such a large topic that probably won't be covered on the Modern Craftsman today.
Oh my gosh, thank God.
No, you know what, Morgan? I've never, like, as Tyler said, we're friends, we're business partners. The summit is something that you pitched years ago, and it has been insanely successful. And what I've never asked you, and I've always wanted to, and I think right now, if anyone's been listening to the last few episodes, they realize how I've been reflecting on. I have too much going on. I'm so scattered. I'm trying to put out fires everywhere, and in all of my recent conversations and consulting and coaching and mentoring, like back to me, I'm not mentoring someone, but someone is mentoring me. Everything has basically alluded to the fact that, Nick, you need to let some of this go and really focus on the core thing. And listening to Tyler rattle off a 2.5 minute intro of everything you have going on makes me wonder. And I see you perform. I see you run the summit. I see what you're doing. And I know that there's no simple answer. And I know I'm glossing over this, but I am curious, what makes you thrive in, I have a t-shirt that says thriving in chaos. And I think of you and me and everyone else that operates like a mad person. But what makes you thrive in all of this? Like, what is the bigger picture or what is the your North Star per se?
I know. Well, that's a hard one to answer simply, but I think the biggest thing is just like, I love people. Like, that's my favorite thing about the job is just like getting to know our clients, getting to know our team. As Brad, our other partner, always says, like developing humans. Like, I truly love that. And I love seeing when other things are simpler for people, when other people's lives are better, when they're thriving, doing what they love. And so I always think too, like, I'm a connector. I say like a human connector. And so I really love to like find the good and then give that good to other people, whether that's in business or life or creating the events that we're creating. So I think that kind of just flows into all the things we do with construction and building homes for people. And I truly believe that like what we're doing in people's homes affects their daily mental health, their personality, their relationships with their kids, their spouses. And I don't think homeowners fully know that until they've experienced it. So I just love that part of the job. And then with our conferences and workshops and all that kind of stuff, it's like we all know we all start our companies from the ground up. And it's just like so hard, so mentally exhausting. And it's just like we need one another and to be able to provide things to other people that we've been through so that they might not have to go down the same path that we did for one maybe situation. Just feels really good, I guess. So it's just like giving back and I always say making the world a better place. And then I laugh at the end, but I'm like, I don't know how else to say that. Cause I'm just like, that's what lights me up is when other people are living their best life. And that's what I strive to do every single day. As you guys know, it's just like I wake up and I have my same routine and I do different things and I have hard, firm boundaries around that. And I have to stick to my time blocking and I can't be altered or swayed or anything because I'm on a mission to accomplish what I need in a day.
That's one of my questions, but like what are some of your non-negotiable daily routines that you cannot go without on any given day, work related, personal life related, regardless?
So Mondays are I call them my focus days. So I don't put anything on my calendar. There is no client meetings, internal meetings, and my team knows that too. So it's kind of, they know it's my day to just like, it's my reset day, whether it's I'm getting caught up with laundry at home or shooting something or filming some content or getting my emails done. It's just my day to reset. And I think that's helped with like Sunday scaries, whatever you want to call them. And then just really set my week up for success. And I think we all know as entrepreneurs and running our own companies, it's like through the weekend, work doesn't stop, family doesn't stop, none of that kind of stuff stops. And so that day to me is just like, leave me alone. And I live by my calendar and I do a really good job at time blocking on my calendar, even for those things. And so I think that's one of my biggest one is like Mondays are my day.
It's funny because my day always was Tuesday. Like I started doing that maybe 12 to 18 months ago, where Tuesday was my day at home. Like no on the job work. I was going to do podcast related stuff, business related stuff, work on the business estimate, whatever I had to do, emails. And that was, like you said, the Sunday scaries, like that got me into the work week where it was like, I'm going to get to work Monday and it's going to be extremely overwhelming, but then I'm going to be able to use Tuesday to catch back up. So like entry into the week was a short one day and then I'd be able to catch back up. So it was like easing into it, which ended up like really for mental health and work perspective, I didn't realize how amazing that was. And I felt that I established so many more efficiencies by, instead of heading into the work, putting my burying my face in the work and not looking up again to take a breath until Friday afternoon. Like I was actually getting into the work week, getting overwhelmed, scaling back, figuring out how to make the best use of the rest of the week while also spending a day actually working on the business, catching up on things that I have to do if I needed to do something for the family around the house. And it was one of the best things I did for my business.
Are you still doing it?
And for my life. Yeah. I mean, it's more than one day at this point now with social and everything else. But it started with that one day a week. And it was going into that, it was almost like, how am I ever going to do this? And then as soon as I did it, it was, how am I ever not going to do this?
For sure.
It just made a huge difference. What about, I see if you don't follow you, but you have like a self-care routine nowadays. Is that every single day?
It is every single day. My alarm clock goes off at 4:10, and the second I wake up, I have a 3-second rule. I think that was like Mel Robbins. It's like 1, 2, 3, and you move. And I do that a lot throughout the day. I'm like, okay, I need to get this done. Like, just do it, get it done, get it off my plate. But I immediately put an earbud in and listen to some sort of like morning mental health kind of podcast just to like get me up and moving, or audible book. I'm obsessed with Tyler. I can't believe you're listening to music. I don't even remember last time I listened to music on like a workout or a run.
Really?
Yeah, it's all books or podcasts but yeah. And so the morning ones are really just about like mindset and getting my intention set for the day. And that kind of just like gets me rolled out of bed. And then, 3 days a week, I either do CrossFit or I just roll down the stairs and get on my yoga mat and start just moving my body and stretching and doing all that. And then I set aside time right after I get done with working out, just with either getting outdoors and walking around our yard or walking up and down our street, and then doing some reading and writing. I journal every single day. I think that was something I kind of, I don't want to say mocked, but I was like, okay, how much does writing really do for you? And ever since I started doing it about a year and a half ago, I'm like, oh my word, it's
What specifically about journaling has been so instrumental? Because I I have a routine and I stick to it. And journaling has always been something I think about. Is like, I wonder if that would help. Because anytime I need to explain something, or even like want to know how I'm going to like make a spreadsheet work, I literally draw it out.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think it must use something in your brain, right? Like, and I don't know, I haven't done the research behind that, but for me, I just tell myself, like, I don't put this time limit on it. I think sometimes people are thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to go and journal pages. And truly, and I share online as much as I can in the mornings, like I'll do a writing prompt and it's just like 1 to 2 questions. And it usually comes from something that's triggered my mind throughout the week. But just by like thinking about that a little bit deeper or releasing it, I think it helps with maybe any resentments you might be holding that you would otherwise just like bury deep inside of you, or something that you might have thought wasn't really bothering you that much that really is bothering you. And instead of taking it out on someone else, you can just take it out on your paper. And sometimes I'm like, great, I've gotten it out. Light this on fire. See you later. So I think it helps in that way. And then just throughout the day, I think it just helps me to focus on more mindfulness. Because again, I'll just hear things and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. And I'll think a little bit deeper on it. Whereas before, it's just like, as you said, we're living in constant chaos. It's go, go, go. So for me, it's just like taking that time to be more mindful. And it's helped me. I carry it throughout the day, just knowing that the next morning I'm going to be writing something else. And just knowing too, it's not for anyone else. Like, I think in the past, I'd be like, oh, what if someone reads this and this or that? It's like, that's never even crossed my mind anymore. And it's more so just to dive deeper into things that I want to become, the person I want to become, characteristics I want to become, things I want to do for my kids, leaving legacies, all that good stuff.
When did you start to establish and implement these boundaries?
A year and a half ago. Coming up 2 years, yeah.
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 And how has that affected life and business? Because most people think I'm going to implement boundaries into my life and they're going to change what I'm doing, or they're going to affect how much time I can devote, or how much of my energy something can consume. And I find that typically those boundaries actually create more freedom in your life and freedom in your business, which makes life more enjoyable, less chaotic, less, riddled with anxiety, but it also allows you to focus on the things and be more efficient with your time. So obviously implementing those boundaries, like how have they changed the way that you operate as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways you can go with boundaries, but I think the biggest misconception is like people think that boundaries are you putting up a barrier and they're bad. Whereas to me, boundaries are very healthy and everyone should have boundaries. And I expect people to have boundaries with me. Like I'll tell my team that too. And I'm like, let me know what those are so that I can respect those boundaries. And for me, the different boundaries that I've been able to do and implement, whether it's business or work, it's all to protect. And a lot of times too, I think like I'm a creative person and I can't lose the creativity. And there's a lot of things in our industry that sucks our soul dry, and people and all that. And I'm like, I had to put up firm boundaries with, there's this book, it's called Givers and Takers. And after I read that book, it was kind of like life changing, where I realized there was a lot of people in my life that show up in a way that I thought were givers when really all they were doing was like takers. And it was business and life, and it was crossing over. And it truly was like, I just started to think about every time I was interacting with them, every time I was doing something, it was just truly depleting all of my mindset, my creativity. And it's weird because it's like a sneaky thing where it's hard to explain, because I'm like, you wouldn't see it, or someone else would be like, oh, interesting. Like, I thought they're a cool person. It's like, yeah, they are. But like the things that I need within me to continue to do what I'm doing, like that's depleting me.
I think a lot of times it's just the two personality types coming together.
Yes.
Like, it's not necessarily that they're intentionally doing that. Like, there are some people, but it's just the way that their personality meshes with your personality. And if you are a pleaser, if you are codependent, when they come together with an alternate personality, like, you don't realize how much you can concede toward that relationship. But it's not necessarily intentional. It's just that once you are somewhat enlightened to that, and you can recognize that, it's not that they're a good or a bad person. It's just that your personality may not necessarily mesh well with theirs, like for your own well-being.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like one of my the good things is like, I like to give, I like to help, I like to do all that. And so I just thought like, oh, it was good. But then when there's multiple of that, and then there's work stuff going on, right? Like I was even realizing with clients, like when we'd run into situations, they were coming to me because they knew I would be like, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out. And we gotten ourselves into a couple different financial situations because of that, and we didn't get paid. And it was like, because they were coming to me, if they would have went to my husband, like he would have been like, take a hike, but they knew. And then, so it was almost like getting taken advantage of too, that I wasn't aware of. So it's like so even that now, any client communication can never come to me ever.
And
setting boundaries like that.
Have you ever dug into why you think that you do that, or why you would be willing to, like, I could see in my head reasons why I would want to, and having conversations with you or presenting with you, and some of the anxieties that you still have, I understand where that could potentially be coming from. But have you ever dug into that on your own? Like, what's the catalyst for you wanting to please everyone?
I am digging into it. I haven't entirely yet, but one that I do know about myself, I hate confrontation. I don't like added, like you just said, Tyler. It's like, I don't like added noise. I don't like drama. I don't like added anxiety, like my signs and all of that. I'm a Libra, and I have all these things where I'm like, I'm a middle child. I just want everyone to get along. I want the peace. And so that's, and I'll deflect. And yeah. And so I've been digging into like, why, like going back into my, childhood and stuff like that, but I'm still trying to figure it out because it's exhausting.
It's interesting that you have positioned yourself where you have, while still possessing some of that like temperament, because typically, like, I feel that you're positioning yourself as an authority within the industry with what you do. And I know that you do have slight imposter syndrome at times with that, where it's like, why me? Why? But the question is like, why anyone else?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you're positioning yourself to be that person, while at the same time you struggle with having the confidence to be like, I am that person. So like you're putting yourself in that position while still not being 100% confident of who you are and what you're doing and the knowledge that you have, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting to me, because most people who feel that way run away from that and shy away from that and would not put themselves in that position in the first place.
I know. It is. It's crazy because even I always want to grow and do better and be better. But yeah, we've chatted about this too. Because I'm like, 2 years ago, I vividly remember going to a public speaking thing, and I was hoping that a bus would hit me and run over me. And I'm like, I was that much like, didn't feel, yeah, I was just so nervous. I had so much anxiety. I had so much imposter syndrome, all that. But I just knew that I had to keep doing this. And like, and over the last year and a half too, as I've been like doing all this work internally, Light is the New Black is this book that has totally changed my life. And I've continued repeat it every morning. Rebecca Campbell is the author, and she has a few other books that are just like incredible. They're a little bit like woo woo here and there, but take what you want out of it. But with her, she just like talks about like what is your light and finding your light and shining that light, and stop letting the things in your head or other people or whatever dim that light. And so just like listening to her daily has just really been like, why am I not embracing this gift? Like, it is a gift. Don't shine away from it. Don't bury it, like, and be confident. And so I'm still working on it, but it's been night and day from now. Like, I'll speak and I get excited. I mean, obviously there's still like those nerves, but I'm like, yes, let's do more and more. But yeah, it's crazy to think that I literally wanted a semi to come run me over 2 years ago.
It is also because like when you outside looking in, I know nothing about what you do on like the back end of business and the marketing aspect of things. And so many people in our industry struggle with that. And you have a lot of that dialed, and you have a very good understanding of that, where it's like you should have very little imposter syndrome speaking to that stuff, especially considering who you're speaking to. I listen to you speak and I'm like, this is Spanish to me. I have no idea what she's talking about. And you're like, no, it's super simple. And
How nice, you guys.
you can walk them through that, but like you should be very confident in what you're doing, because there's not many people in our industry who have the knowledge and the experience and the know-how to do what you're doing as successfully, regardless of what you do for business or what, like, it, to me, that none of that really matters as much as the information and the knowledge that you have.
Thank you.
I think the side, like the imposter syndrome, we all face it, and no matter who you talk to, at some point in time, like they either struggle with it or they continue to struggle with it. And internally, we were talking, about our team recently, and we were talking about one of my guys on staff and how they were operating on the verge of anxiety. And we kind of chuckled about it, and we said, but that's kind of what you want. You want someone to operate like on the verge, because that means like they're questioning themselves in a way that they are constantly pushing themselves to be better.
Yeah.
And I mean, Morgan, like, I'll second what Tyler said. Like you get up there and you speak with insane confidence, and and people probably look at me the same, in a similar light, where it's like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. He's got this, he's got that, he's got it figured out. And it's like, I'm the same way. I get up there, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm nervous as shit. Like, this is uncomfortable. And I do it over and over and over, because I know, like, I'm the same as you, in the sense that I know that there's going to be like one thing I might say that someone's going to be like, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
And, but it's a very interesting feeling. And I read this article, I shared it with Tyler, and I'll send it to you. But Ben Horowitz, who wrote The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is a great book, I came across like an article he wrote, and it's called The Struggle. And it's, it just talks about like life is a struggle, and the struggle, like, and all the parts that like we face as human beings, as entrepreneurs, as fathers, as husbands, as spouses, like. And I read it the other day, and it couldn't have been a better time, because I had felt just completely defeated.
Yeah.
And I shared it with Tyler, and I shared it with a couple other people. And usually I leave my wife out of that because I just like, I'm the strong, confident husband. Like, I got this shit. Don't worry about it. And I sent it to her and I was like, I wonder what she's going to say. And she wrote back, she goes, "Is this how you feel right now?" I said, "Yes." And she
Way
goes,
to
"Oh."
go.
And she was like, "Oh." And then I got home. I'm like, "Did you read it?" She goes, "Nah." And I was like, she goes, "I promise I will." But she like knew like I was sharing it, and like she knew it was important enough that I shared
Right.
it. But
Yeah.
my whole point, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but my whole point is that like as you read through that article, and you realize that this is part of growth,
Yeah.
and it reminds you to reflect on what was yesterday, what was 5 years ago, like where have you've come from.
For
And
sure.
it's like that is, I mean, it sounds
That's the thing
cliche.
about
I mean, that's kind of where like my
journaling.
mind was going with that. It's like it's hard sometimes to think about like what I was doing a year ago, 2 year, whatever, and
Yeah.
reflecting on the fact that I've made a lot of progress. Because in these moments, and I know a lot of people relate to this, in these moments, it is quite literally like someone is seeing just how far they
Mm-hmm.
can push you to that edge to see if you like if you're just going to jump or if you
Yeah.
can inch closer and closer to it. And it's interesting because like going back to my original thought, like you have so much going on, and for me, I'm shedding all of this stuff because I want to focus on things that bring me more benefit to my personal life. And there's decisions that we're making in the business, and I made this comment last night with my team, is that we were basically coming to the conclusion that we were going to stop doing something. Like that was it. Like that isn't making us money. Let's stop doing it. Conversation was over. And then I was like, but what if, and it was like I was trying to resuscitate it. And I said that out loud. I'm like, I'm trying to resuscitate something that we literally just killed. And I did it again and again, and I did it again today. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like
Mm-hmm.
we collectively agree on something, and it's this weird emotional attachment to something that I've invested thousands of hours into. And it's like, I just
Is it
know it
because
could.
you've invested thousands of hours, or is it because it's something that like sparks you a little bit, like brings a little bit
It
of joy to you?
sparks me none.
Okay. Okay.
And it's quite literally just like I have this. I think what for me, I think I see opportunity. I'm someone that is like, oh, if we do that, that could be huge. But
Right.
that's like I'm not then going to take it and like put all the pieces together. I then try to go find someone like, hey,
Yeah.
I need you to do this and I need you to do that. And if you do that, like we'll collectively grow.
Mhm.
But I can't step in and create the
Yeah.
structure around it. And I think that I spend, uh, you know, whatever, months, days, like years trying to do that and find the right people, and only for it to just be like, yeah, there's just no one that wants to do it, or I haven't been able to find them. And unless I'm going to do it, I have to move on because now it just costs money.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
there's
don't know.
definitely
I don't know
something
where
to be
my mind's
said
going.
for but there's something to be said for hanging on to something too long for the sake
Yeah.
of what's been invested, right? Where at some point you have to realize that if there's nothing more, if there's no spark,
Mm-hmm.
why are you hanging on to it? Like it's easier. You can't continue to try and resuscitate that and revive that because you've invested X amount or because you've spent so much time if there's no value in it for you, if it's if there's nothing in return coming along the way. To continue spending time on that is actually foolish.
There's a journaling writing for you today, Nick. Write down 5 whys. Why are you hanging on to that? And dive deeper into it.
I have to fill up 5. I don't know if I have 5.
So
Tried it. Well, there you go.
so as
Wow.
Morgan, you've made your way down this path of like growth, development, self-realization, self-discovery. have you had a mentor or a role model who's been helping you along the way, or is this just generated within?
I feel like it's a collection of people that I've curated. No, I'd say, and this has been my entire life. I've always, like, even growing up, I was friends with all the groups, right? And then I like pull different things from life experiences from them. But like you guys know, Katie Kath is one of my huge mentors with J Kath. And I feel like I've grown up with her in the industry. So she's someone that many times too has stepped into our organization and helped us out and get back on our feet. And anytime I've had to have hard conversations or anything like that, like she is there, like feels like she'd be an extension of our team. And then like you guys, honestly, like surrounding myself with you guys and Contractor Coalition Summit has been a game changer, and Brad and Mark D. And I think too, like what we're building at Contractor Coalition and the community, I think is just so cool. Like these people that show up are truly all working on their mental health. And now it's like online. Sometimes it gets a bit much online or text, right? But it's like, I'm on a text group. You guys are like so glad you didn't join this text group. I can already tell. But I'm like probably like 40 people on this text.
Oh my God.
Accountable. I know Jamie's on it too, and he's like, Mark keeps adding people every day.
I knew Mark, dude. I knew as soon as you said this, I was like, Mark is spearheading this.
I'm pretty sure I left that group.
Yes,
because I like my phone was going nuts, and I'm like, I already have a school text message with like 80 people on it that I can't.
So now imagine every day. But what I do think is cool, and what I'm taking away from that is like they're all contractors, and these group of men and females, like and it's all like related to working out or podcasts or something. They're reading or exercising, and I'm just like, how cool is this? Like when I first entered the industry, like the people I was surrounded by, were honestly, it's like going to these, I always say good old boy events, shows, right? And everyone's getting blasted. And it's just like, no one's taking care of themselves. And it's like, now I feel like I found this new group of people, and it's all from social media, right? And then we're bringing them together too, a couple times a year. So yeah, I would say that's honestly been my like biggest changing thing, is just like, and staying accountable with all of you guys is really, really cool. So
I mean, I love the fact that we're seeing this huge shift in the industry to like health, wellness, like mental health, physical health. And I feel like it's coming in fast and furious.
Well, and sometimes I'm like, is it, or is it just because we're surrounding ourselves with the people?
I mean, there's that,
but I hope it's everyone.
Yeah, there's definitely that side of it. Like, we're not talking. We're talking a very specific group. Anyone that is invested in promoting themselves,
basically
and their business.
Anyone who's Mormon.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. I think I'm going to I keep telling Jamie, I'm like, these are my new best friends, so I think I'm on the verge.
Life hack: befriend Mormons.
I mean, they're all
right.
nice.
We can pretty much wrap it up at this point.
They're doing something right.
Start a group text with a bunch of Mormons and Mark Williams.
Oh my gosh.
The secret to success.
That's funny.
Nick's like, I don't know where to take this.
No, it's just funny because, I mean, my wife is obsessed with understanding Mormon culture.
Me too.
And, I mean, we have, the building industry, when you look at it across the country, like there's a lot of Mormon builders. Like it's just like a big, and they're like practicing Mormon. And
so nice. Like, the nicest humans I've ever met in my
life. If my wife finds out someone's Mormon, I can guarantee we'll be talking about that for 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And I sit there and I just listen. I'm like, this is fascinating. And, by the end of the night, I'm drinking Diet Coke and thinking about joining a church. But
I have some things I want to say, but I'm gonna keep it to myself. But I'm gonna laugh inside of my head right now.
There you go.
Morgan, with everything that's changed in your life the past couple of years, do you have a different definition or like perspective of how you define success? Because that changed.
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily changed. Like, I hate saying the cliche things that everyone says is like a healthy family and all that kind of stuff. But I actually saw something on Instagram the other day and I was like, okay, that's really good. And they're like, if you can make cookies with your kids midday, you are successful. And I just stared at that and I was like, okay, that's really cool. Because and the way I thought about it is like yesterday, for example, Ellie could have gone to daycare. She should have went to daycare. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to keep her home because I want to. And she came with me to get a facial. And then she came home and I still worked the whole day, but she was there and she was just by my side. And she probably told me like 5 times that I was her best friend and how much she loves me. And so I just thought about that. Like, you can do that midday. And I thought, you know what? That is the definition of success. Like, because this morning I chose that I just want my, kid to be at home with me today and work with me, like, I can do that. And I think
she's 3, right?
she just turned 4. Yeah.
Okay, so she's a little older than Indy. So she sat there and got a facial?
I got the facial. She sat in the corner, but I said to her, I was like, I just have an appointment for 1 hour. I was like, but you cannot talk. And the lady that doing the facial, she was like, I actually have never had a kid ever sit here and like, you don't even know she's there. She was like in the corner and she just was on my phone and it was on silent and she didn't say one peep. And I actually said to her, I'm like, honestly, I think it's because me and my husband both run a company together and we're working all the time and all of our kids have been raised that way. And they know if I'm on a call to like, no, there's no talking. And if we're around clients or anything, there's no whining, like you're on your best behavior. And I'm like, we're pretty loose parents, but I'm like, they're really good kids when it comes to that. But I was like, okay, that's the one benefit of like them seeing us working around the clock all the time.
Yeah.
So obviously, like with that respect, having a business has affected how you've been a mother. Has there anything, like if you turn that the other way around, where like being a mother, how has that affected your business?
Tyler, yeah,
I feel like you have, and maybe it wasn't initially, but like you obviously have that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that oftentimes being a mother, being a parent, having a family can get in the way of that.
Okay. That's a good question. So actually, we just had someone put their 2 weeks in and it was so funny because I told Kayla, I go, I think I only want to hire moms moving forward. I was like, are we allowed to do that? I don't think we're allowed to do that. But I was like,
You're just not allowed to say it.
Yeah, there we go. And I was like, I really think though, because I'm like, moms. So it's affected me in the way of like, I get stuff done. Like I have no patience or tolerance for like, I don't want to say feelings because I am an emotional person, but I'm just like, if you are coming to coming to me with something, like you better have an answer, or unless you really need my guidance, then I need you to be direct and ask me, say you need my guidance. Because my window truly, like from drop off, pick up, and Jamie and I divide and conquer, but still like it's running through our minds, like kids drop off, right, pick up. And I'm like, I only have so much time in the day that I need to be focused and get stuff done. So I'd say it's helped me to really streamline like what I need to do. It's helped me delegate. It's helped me definitely just that nurturing aspect too, of just even dealing with clients, which has also gotten me in trouble. But just, I think there's something there that we truly do develop that unfortunately other people don't carry. And so I just think you treat people a little bit differently and you have a little bit more empathy when different situations arise. But yeah, I would say just efficiency is like,
I feel like that's the big difference between men and women, fathers and mothers, that like when I'm doing something, I cannot be bothered with anything else. You have to be quiet. I need to put on headphones. I can't stop and then get back to it. And my wife will literally be like mid bite of a meal, hop on, do something, halfway through that, help my kids, go back to her second bite, and just like seamlessly go from one thing to the next without missing a beat. And for me, it's like I would need 45 minutes in between each activity just to wrap my head around what I was doing and get back into it.
That is such a good perspective because that's what I think too. It's like we have all these tabs open And I'll legit be like, okay, that's done, on to this. And even I had a call right before this with a client in our team, and minutes before the call. And then all of a sudden a few texts came after, and I wrote back to them. I was like, it's done, move forward. I'm done talking about this. I was just like, cool, we're good. Like, move forward. We resolved it. Like, there's no need to keep talking about it.
Mhm.
And so stuff like that, right? I'm like, that tab is now shut off. Now the podcast tab's turning on. I'm like, no more. I'm done. And now it's like, check, move.
Yeah, I wish like that is something that I am trying to perfect, because I come in, I get here early, and I try to get work done before the day starts.
Yeah.
And I come here with a plan, and I'll open up that quote unquote tab, and I'll start working, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I can just knock something else out, and I go in, like I'll go check the mail and get caught up on that, and then it's like, and then all next thing I know, I've spent an hour doing nothing,
Right.
and it drives me bananas.
Oh.
So it's like for me, like I have found that creating a to-do list, like that is that's like a superpower, where it's like, all right, if I sit down and create a list of stuff I need to do, I will get more done.
Yep.
Do you set goals for each day?
Me?
Yes. Sure.
Morgan?
Yeah.
I already know you don't, Nick.
Oh my God.
You probably set goals, just won't get to them.
Yes, I'm kind of a psycho with goals, because I set a full yearly goals. Like, I just do old school, like Excel spreadsheet, just like rattle. I want hundreds on this thing. And then I break them down into monthly, quarterly, weekly, daily.
So you sit down at like the beginning of the year?
So I just finished up for next year. So we have an Excel. So I do that as a team too. And then on this thing, I do one as a team, and then me and Jamie would do one. So we have personal and professional. Obviously, sometimes they overlap. And then, and Jamie and I we have it on our calendar every Sunday. We have an hour where we powwow and just go over, we're looking at our goals. We're looking at what's upcoming that week, who's doing drop off, pickup, just to make sure we're like in check and in line. Because even today, it was like, I've been in back-to-back meetings all day, and then I don't have to worry about like him being like, maybe calling me, right? Like, he already knew Sunday that this was going to be my day. And like, he's getting Ellie from daycare. And so with the goals though, yes. So then every morning too, and I'm like old school in a way of, I have it on the spreadsheet, but I also have this huge butt notebook.
Yeah.
Every day I'm like, I want to go to bed at night and have all of it checked off. And I also like every day I want to like do something living in the uncomfortable. So I have to do one thing every day that makes me uncomfortable.
Like what?
Which is really hard. Like if that week, so I write that down in the beginning of the week, and then I'm like, I got to get these 7 things done, and each one has to be every day, but one could be like a client right now is waiting till a door comes in, and it was a change order, and blah blah blah, and it could be paid Thursday, and I'm just like, I need to get this conversation out of the way, like, and that makes me extremely uncomfortable. And whether that's talking to the team, right? And then something else with the team just happened recently, and I'm like, okay, it's not even that big of a deal, but I just need to nip this in the butt. But that makes me uncomfortable.
But it is so liberating to just do that, because like you're probably very similar to me. Where when like it's not as though that thing that has to be done that's making you uncomfortable is in and out of like your periphery throughout the week. Like you're thinking about it all the time and just dreading it all the time. And then like if you just did it, it wouldn't be that bad.
Well, it's like firing someone. Like I remember the first person I fired, I called Meg. I'm like, I am literally shaking right now. She goes, what's wrong? I'm like, I need to fire this person, and I feel like I'm about to throw up, and I just took a drive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember like it was the worst firing ever. I walked in the office. I'm like, hey, I'm letting you go. And they were like, what? I'm like, yep, last day. So that's it.
Sounds like Jamie's first fire.
No explanation. And they were like pissed. And the moment that door shut, I was like, wow, I feel great.
Yeah, you're like, it's over.
I was like that. Like, what was I so nervous about? And it was fine. Like, ultimately, like, it was better for both of us. And it's weird how we psych ourselves up.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're creating goals. My mind is blown by this. You're creating goals for the year, breaking them into smaller subcategories, and then each week probably reflecting back on that and creating like a hyper focused set of goals,
Yes.
and just checking in on that.
Yep. Yeah. And
Mm.
sometimes too, like, for example, like, you guys just launched these courses and I did a membership thing more focused on marketing, but like even that leading up to when I was going to launch it, I was like, okay, I want to get so many subscribers. And then that week before I was like, how am I going to do this? And I was like, I want to get so many next week. And then I got that. And then the next week I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? And then it forced me. So here's uncomfortable too. It forced me to like think about people that I know and in organizations and in some of my professional groups. And so I just asked them, I was like, hey, can you guys all please share this?
Yeah.
And like that kind of stuff makes me feel just like, ugh, because I'm like, I just want them to do it if they see it. Right.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they did it and I hit my goal. So I'm like, it makes me more intentional to hit that year end goal when I'm looking at it each week to set up the micro ones and to think about the simple things that we could be doing, right? Instead of year end comes and you're like, oh crap, I didn't hit that goal.
Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the podcast and remind you to head over to moderncraftsman.co. You can find out more information about us. You can download some freebies. We got a labor burden calculator as well as our pre-construction agreement up there. But most importantly is hit that subscribe button, sign up for our newsletter. This is where you're going to get all of the information behind the scenes. You're going to get information prior to podcast release. You're also going to get information on stuff that we're working on that we're just not sharing with the general public. So if you want to know more, head over, hit that subscribe button, or at least take advantage of the free downloads that we have on the website. So let's get back to the conversation. That's such a great tip because I think I'm thinking about it right now in terms, we just lost two big projects, which destroyed our entire pipeline. And so all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, I have been out of the marketing and sales because I've been so focused on getting these projects started and now they've evaporated. And now I have to turn marketing sales back on when the reality is like, and the amount of money and tasks I've completed in the last 5 days is like, for me, like I'm impressing myself with the fact that I've been able to get as much done in this short amount of time. And I'm like, man, if I just did this on a regular basis, like this would be a monster.
Yeah.
And truthfully, like I've always operated under pressure. Like I'm much better where it's like, all right, that's due tomorrow. I'm like, all right, I'll do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But putting it down and seeing like and understanding it's at a micro level where it's like, whatever. I made a goal last week. I was like, I want to have a live conversation with at least 2 architects per week. I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do 1. I'll do 2.
Yeah.
And every week I'm like, oh man, I gotta find 2.
It makes you do it.
Yeah. Instead of saying, oh, I should just network with architects. Because then it's like, okay, I'll just do that willy nilly. Like it never happens.
Yeah. And like you said with the checklist too. So like this could be a bad habit, but I enjoy it. Like I do my best work on the weekends. And I think too, because like the noise is kind of turned down, right? And it's more like family time. So I really can like strategize and work and get things done. And so like I'm looking at my list and it like Sunday is kind of my day. And I'm like, if I didn't hit all that, right, end of the week, I'm like, it needs to be done. Like I cannot move into the week until every single thing is crossed off. And then what action do I need to take to get there?
I just slide it to the next week.
Are you somebody who celebrates like attaining your goals or like milestones?
No, I don't.
It's and that we don't either. And I sometimes wonder why.
I know.
Like my wife and I, my wife, she'll get a promotion, she'll get a new job, like whatever we're doing. Like there's so many things that we do in life that we should be proud of. And it's so chaotic and it's like moving right on to the next thing. And I'm like, why aren't we like planning a dinner or, having people over to celebrate this or just taking a night off or going at like anything to celebrate any of our milestones or reaching any of our goals.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like other people, I feel like you see that shit in movies and it's like, oh yeah, you got a new job. Like we're going to go out and celebrate.
Yeah.
And then like that doesn't happen in real life.
I know. I mean, you guys know this. I'm a person that doesn't like attention
Yeah.
on either. So it was my birthday at the summit. And I'm like, I don't want anyone to know it's my birthday. But that's one thing about Jamie and I. And sometimes my friends are like, you guys are so weird. Cause I'm like, it's our anniversary. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's like get a cabin and work.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to celebrate. I don't want gifts. Like I don't know. That's just not something we maybe should, but even we'll go to dinner. I'm like, cool. I don't know.
Yeah. So what are some of your goals, like your biggest work goals for this year and also personal goals?
For this year?
If
or
you're
for
allowed to tell us.
Year? This
Either.
upcoming-
2025.
I mean, like this upcoming year, you said that you just wrapped up.
So I would say this year.
Give us some of your really good ideas too, so we can steal them.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're so funny. That's a book or pod. Oh, that didn't come from you guys. It's like a podcast called like, I don't know. It's The Art of Stealing is like, you're the most successful person, whatever. Well, this year, like the biggest thing was Contractor Coalition, honestly, and like elevating it and getting it dialed in and getting you, Tyler, on board and just like getting it to the next level and doing the branding, all that, which we did. So I feel really good. And then the membership thing was a big one for me. Got that all done. And then Katie Kath told me, and she's always like, oh my gosh, why do you keep bringing this up? She's like, if you hit your goals aren't big enough. So then I always have that running through my mind where I'm like,
jerk.
It's like, dang it. But no, honestly, like we still have some financial goals from projects that we need to hit. And even I texted you guys last week. I was like raging about a lot of things. And just kind of what you said, Nick, I'm like, there was some jobs, right? And I'm like, you guys, we have no shortage of work coming in. Like we have so many leads coming in. And I was like, why aren't these two clients moving? And they're like, well, we just got to get this and that. And I'm like, I'm coming to the meetings, and I never go to those meetings. And I'm like, I'm coming because I'm not leaving that house until contract signed. Like we're moving forward. We're doing this freaking job. Did it, right? Went there with that intent in mind. And I drove with Jamie and our team, and I was like powwowing on the way. And I'm like, you guys, what's our number one goal before we walk out of this house? You know, and they were like, wow, we don't even think about that. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to move forward, like get everything dialed in, close this, and let's go. Cause I'm like, we're hitting those numbers. I don't care. Like those numbers, right, don't mean like we're still going to be profitable, but I'm like, I want to hit those freaking goals so that we can do the things that we want to do next year. Right. And so even talking to them, one of my big things, and I don't know, we bought a building last year and then we sold it, but that's when we kind of were in that situation, or a year and a half ago. But I want to buy another building. Like I want a construction style brick and mortar. Our team works remote and I really love that. But now that we have a few different companies going on, I think there's something to be said about getting together every so often and having that creativity. And so often we'll powwow at a coffee shop, and I'm just kind of like, I want some sort of building that truly conveys who we are as a brand. Yeah. And so that's one of my big goals for this next year. Jamie wants to do, and I said to him, I'm like, I'm so sick of talking about this. Like, let's freaking do it. And sometimes for him, right, he's the realist, I'm the dreamist, but he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, we're going to do it. But he wants to do, like a custom C2S build, but like truly not what you're doing, Nick, in that way, but like Midwest, Minneapolis style, and middle class, like like what we would build, but just different. There's something missing in our market that I feel like we could bridge that gap. But of course, you know, you guys all know we're like, we don't want to become this big custom builder either. So there's that kind of like marketing message we're trying to figure out right now. But I'm like, let's do that. Or flips, right? Like that's how we started our business, and we really liked them. And I think for a while maybe it was the imposter syndrome. And I love how you always talk about this, Tyler, but it's like, sometimes we think we need to be this when really we don't. And so we've been talking about that too. I'm like, let's get back into that. Like that was super profitable for us. We made a lot of good money. We were in and out. We did what we love. So a lot of, I guess, just real estate investment. We have goals for this next year. And then, yeah, just dialing in on the workshops. I think you had said this at the summit too, Tyler, or Nick, and I didn't share, but I want to write a book too. And I hired a publisher actually like at the beginning of this year. And then I just like sat with it and I was just like, I don't feel like I want it to be something like I want this coffee table book, but I want it to, I'm not sure what I want it to be yet. Like what I thought I wanted it to be, I was like, no. And then, so I took a moment and just like you're saying that thing you squash. And because our team was like, just who cares, be done, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not going to close it, but I'm going to like remove it from my brain that I have to have this deadline.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm just going to let it sit because through the work that I'm doing, I think something's going to like come to light and I'm going to know what it is when it comes. I hope it happens.
Do you think the mentality of like, this isn't the only book I'm going to publish would help you as well?
Oh my gosh,
Where
that's a
it's
good
like you're
point.
trying to lay the golden egg right now, and sometimes
what
it
I was
doesn't have to
thinking.
be that.
I know. I think that is really great. And I think too, just like my bigger goal, which I said to you, Tyler, last week, we mulled on it for a second. And then I'm like, like us and and Brad need to all chat. But I'm just like, I see something so big with what we're doing. And I see all these additional ways to do it. And so all of this I have jotted down, like almost this funnel, right? In this marketing strategy. And so that I just see like this shift in what we're doing and the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. And I don't know why it was this year. All of a sudden this light bulb went off again in my head that I'm just like, I say this all the time, your vibe attracts your tribe. But I'm like, oh my gosh, we have 4 amazing humans. And no wonder why all these amazing humans are coming to the conference. And then they're all connecting and doing amazing things because we're all, this collective of people are just like bringing together, I truly believe, the best in the industry. So I see so many different opportunities of how we truly can change the industry. And I've said that since the beginning, and I feel just even more confident about it. And I just like, that's kind of my thing where I'm like feeling this sense of, and this is with the speaking, right? And like shining the light and all that. And it's with females too. And like, that's why I love that I'm a part of this with you guys, because it's like showing something different and how we can work together and how we all show up and create homes together and create better lives for people together. And I just don't think homeowners, like I said, fully comprehend that. And I just see just something much bigger that we're all going to do together that's going to like change. Because, and like you just said, Tyler, and I think I said it to Jamie like 5 times this week, I'm like, we just want to get paid for the work we do. Like, why is that so hard?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, let's change it. I'm so tired of that.
I mean, that's been like the catalyst for everything that I've been trying to push for the last 18 months or so, where there's just too many people who it's too risky. And they're not even being compensated for their time. And at a minimum, that should not be like a heavy list or a big ask for people within our industry who are doing the right thing, who are working really hard to provide for their family and reach their goals. And that like the fact that is the benchmark for success or like the goal that people are trying to reach within our industry it's not enough. And like there needs big changes need to happen. Are you willing to share any of your personal goals for the next year?
Well, like I have like personal as in the room I'm sitting in right now, we want to blow this side of our house off and add in a whole nother situation on our house. But then, you know, every other day, Jamie's like, let's just burn our house down and build. And I'm like, no, we are not doing that.
How long have you guys been there?
It'll be 7 years.
And you put an addition on already and did the backyard renovation?
Yep. But we bought a house for like nothing, like around $300,000, you guys. We have 5 acres and we've done all the work ourselves. So
yeah,
it's good. We're at a good spot. But now, we love the school district, right? You got to think about all that. But yeah, I'm like, we have weird, like all of our goals, like I said, kind of crossover. I should like focus more on like the me thing too.
Yeah. I was
but no,
curious.
like right now it's just like staying, like goals, like staying present, staying sober, staying like mentally in check, staying like my morning routines. I don't ever have like people would be like travel more. I'm like, no, actually, like I'm headed into I just turned 40 and I said, this is going to be my decade of serial entrepreneurship. And so like, I have a ton of goals this next year to just like go wild and crazy, but do it with like remaining in check.
So what's the driving force behind all of the goals? Like you had mentioned something about a legacy, crafting a legacy. Like, is it to create freedom? Is it to create a lifestyle for you and your family? Is this just what makes you tick, to feel accomplished? What do you feel is driving you to create these goals and then chase down these goals?
Legacy is the biggest thing for sure.
And what does that look like for you?
For me, well, again, making the world a better place. But I
Be the good.
be the good. Oh my gosh. Maybe this is a female thing, and this is not a good thing, but like always in my mind, I'm like, time's ticking. And unfortunately, I've had close people in my life pass. My dad was one of them. And I'm always just like even right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my mom lost my dad when she was in her 40s, you know? And I think about that all the time, like with Jamie and, you know, and yeah. And so I just think all the time, I'm like, I want to, and legacy is so much more than financial to me and money to me. Like, I think it's living a good lifestyle. Like that's what Jamie and I always say, like, we do not need this overabundance of things, but we want to live comfortably.
Yeah.
We want kids to like be okay. Right. And like create some sort of that. And also I heard this thing where it's like, your great grandchildren won't even know you. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to break that stigma. I think it's just, I'm passionate about breaking. I did this, all those like personality tests or whatever. And one came back recently about me where I'm like a disruptor, but in a good way. And I was like, okay, I love that. Like, I want to see change and make change with respect. Right. And like, and that's not only with my family, but within our housing community industry that we're doing. I just want to change things for the better for our other people, not just myself, and be remembered for, like, I think we all asked one another that, like, what is one, or I asked people that as an icebreaker. I'm like, what's one word you want to be remembered for, you know, and like how to live up to that. And for me, mine has always been generosity. But yeah,
the good
like
3 words.
Yeah, I like give back and I do good. And I just think life's hard and like, we gotta,
What happened to your dad?
Super sad. So my parents owned a restaurant, or super sad as in, he was at work and literally he didn't feel good. I mean, he hadn't felt good all week, but he was a chef. So he was like flipping the burgers and everything. And after lunch, he was like, I'm going to go run to the hospital quick. And he went to the hospital and he had pneumonia and his lungs were already full and he got airlifted. And within 48 hours, he died.
Holy shit.
Just from like pushing off being sick and being run down.
So I'm like always on Jamie because like even right now he is so exhausted. And last week I was like, I think you're stressed and like you just need to chill.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have time to chill. And on Friday I was like, it was like noon and me and him were supposed to have a meeting. And I'm like, no, you're going to come home and you're going to take a nap. I was like, you just need to relax and you just need to like, other things can wait. Like it's okay. But I'm like, you got to take care of yourself. Cause it's like, he's one too. He's just like my dad in a creepy way. I'm like, he does not, he puts himself last and it's like, no.
So how old were you when your dad died? Like high school age, college?
I was 23.
Yeah.
And I was living in California. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's terrible.
I know.
You have an older brother? I think I met your older brother, right? Yeah. Do you have younger siblings?
I met all of them. Yeah. Older Jesse and then younger Noah.
I don't know if I met Noah. Did I meet Noah? Maybe.
Yeah, Noah was in they were both in Minnesota.
I know I sat next to your older brother at dinner. I think that was your older brother.
Maybe you were not in the room at that time. Maybe you bowed out. Oh yeah, you did.
I could have
been.
You
did.
That could have been me. Damn, missed my opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting to see how that affects so much of your life moving forward. And like how you shape your legacy, what you define your legacy, how much time you want to devote to work, what
Mhm.
your priorities are.
I know, and that's
And
one thing too, like, my parents worked their butts off,
yeah,
and so I do have that hard balance, right, where sometimes I'm like, "For what?" But then also I mean, they did amazing things, like, and they gave back, and they were huge in the community and stuff like that, but while taking care of yourself, right? So I'm, like, constantly like, "Come on, Morgan."
yeah, you don't realize how important it is, and it was different. Like and even within a generation or two, I feel it was much different as far as how much you could work and not caring about yourself and living a healthy lifestyle. And there's always outliers to those situations.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like you have to take care of yourself from a mental and a physical perspective, especially when you are working a lot and you're raising a family. Um, it is very tough. It's very time consuming, and it can be very stressful and take a huge toll on your body.
Well, and I think it used to be, uh, the industry stigma was like, "That's selfish."
Yeah,
Now I'm like, "It's okay to be selfish." Like,
Mhm.
my mornings and stuff like that, I'm like, "Yeah, it's selfish, but I need my best self." And
Yeah.
I've friends, right, that are like, "Oh, I could never do that, like, because my husband X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, "Well, that's a you
It's
problem. You could do it, actually. You just
yeah,
have
yeah,
to."
it's just priority. Like I always hate like, oh, I don't have the time for that. It's like, no, you're not prioritizing it.
Right, or you don't
It's
want it
like,
enough.
yeah, you do have time. Like
Yeah, and I
you're
said
just
that
choosing.
too. Yeah.
Hey, you're choosing to do other things.
Mhm.
I've gotten a lot of flack for that, especially on social media. But I've always said it's like I prioritize myself, then my family, and then my business.
Yep,
Because without me, like I'm not there for my family, and I'm not there for my business. Like
exactly.
and I think that there's this motherly instinct, that you know mothers will say that they prioritize their family over themselves, and I
Mhm,
just like I'm not saying that they don't, but I disagree with that. I think that a mother, just like a father, should prioritize themselves first
mhm.
for
Yeah.
exactly what you said. Like if you need to be your best self.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, because even like Jamie, like his thing is, in the summers, like golfing, and I can see a night and day difference in him when he goes
Mhm.
golfing. And again,
That's funny.
friends will be like, "Oh, like, how do you allow it?" Like, "No." And I'm just like, I'm literally telling him, like, "You need to go golf. Like, get out of
yeah. That's what my
here."
wife does,
Yeah,
minus the golf.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't golf.
minus or
No,
dirt biking,
yeah,
whatever.
she's like, you need to go ride your dirt bike, like get
Yeah,
out of
like,
the
get out of here.
house.
Yeah. And so
It's
I'm like,
it's
"Oh,
it's
good."
for the best
Mhm.
or for the best interest of all of us for you to leave and go do something. It's crazy because I have so many friends whose spouses like don't recognize that and don't support that. They're
Mhm.
like, "You're so lucky that your wife's like that," and I'm like, she just recognizes it better and understands what I need better than I do. It's like I'm like
Sure.
a child, you're hungry, eat something, and then I get
Yes.
annoyed because she's right, and I spitefully don't eat anything, and then just get in like a pissier mood.
She's like,
Um,
"I don't want a 3rd child to take care of right now, so get
yeah,
up."
I'm like 30, 38, almost 39-year-old
Oh
Tilly.
my gosh. Oh,
Um,
you guys,
which
I
is which is unfortunate for my wife.
oh my word.
Um, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons or biggest takeaways from the past year and a half, 2 years of your life where you've been focused on making like a concerted effort to change your lifestyle?
Okay, the biggest what?
Just some of the biggest lessons or the biggest takeaways um,
I
from the
would say
past, year or two of your life and just changing your lifestyle.
I would say it's okay to feel instead of feel and embrace what those feelings are doing to you. And I even challenge Jamie with this all the time too, because I think, especially as men, right? But even women, like we numb it or
Mhm.
we push it aside or we bury it deep inside of us. Um, and instead, like truly take some time, whether that's a cleanse or whatever of your choosing, right? But like, I think over the last year and a half is to truly live through every experience and to feel like what that feels like. So when we get mistreated, like truly sitting with that and feeling it, and also not just like reacting to things right away or like excitement and joy, and like, what is that and what's bringing that excitement and joy. One thing that's been interesting, you guys know, and I don't share a lot about this online publicly, but it's just like, I gave up alcohol, and it's like to all of a sudden realize like, oh, I didn't need alcohol to have fun. Or like people would think like, oh, that's no fun. And I'm like, no, but I'm fun. Like, I'm so fun. Like, but actually, and so just like realizing and just how silly, right? And I'm like, oh wow. And I thought that. I was like, oh gosh, they must be boring or whatever. And now I'm like, no, what is it about me that's fun? Or what brings me joy? And if that's not fun, then why the heck am I going there? Like, why would I want to be spending my time there?
I mean, you said it. It's like it's used to numb like an actual feeling.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like, alcohol, I think, is so interesting because more and more people are just not drinking.
Yeah.
And I stopped drinking for like a year, and then a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I'll have a couple drinks, and then I'm like, I immediately was like, I actually fucking hate this. I'm like, there's no part of me that like I'm not enjoying the moment, and I'm also not enjoying the next day. Like, and I'm like, it's weird to me that I'm just gonna not drink. And the more I do it, the more I'm like, but for what? Like, there's no benefit to it.
I know.
And I feel like, I mean, you say that 5 years ago, it was like everyone's like, that's weird, man. And nowadays it's like, oh yeah, he doesn't drink and they don't drink, and I'm like, I appreciate the fact that like we've got to that point where it's socially acceptable not to drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
being present.
Yep, being present and being aware and being so I'd say that's probably the biggest thing. And then like feeling what all those feelings feel like and
what
how
sorry.
No.
What were you said that one of your biggest takeaways was like being able to feel those feelings, like the hardest feelings to feel. What were they for you? Like, I was thinking about when you said that, like what I stopped drinking, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. No. 2009. So 15 years ago, right? Yeah, 15 years ago. And I can go back and like think about it now and inventory now, like the things that I didn't want to feel as to why I was drinking. What were those feelings that you had trouble just accepting or coping with or like getting comfortable with?
I think, well, a lot with work and our industry, and it's like feeling, again, with projects and moving parts and teams and stuff like that. And it's just like things. So if I rewind back to that specific time too, there was a couple different projects going on where it was just like, I was being pulled into things and being taken advantage of. And then I would just be like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Right. And then I just, whatever, numb it, don't want to think about it, like talk about it later, like, and you keep pushing it until literally, that's what I would say. It's like, I freaking broke. And there came a time, right, where it's like you snap and you're done. And so I think just that of like the sense of now when I see a feeling coming on like that, or even a new lead came in the other day and like someone on our team's like, yeah, I think Morgan, you just take it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. And then I was like, what did I just do? And then I'm like, no. So like little things like that, I'm like, that I don't even like dealing with the new lead situation, but just because they name dropped and said something else, right? And like thought it'd be like, oh, I'll win them over. I was like, no, we need to stick to our process because that could lead to me getting in an uncomfortable situation and being taken advantage of. And that will lead to that feeling that I don't want to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need this. And then I was like, nope. And so I'm like, let's just keep on with our process, do this, and then bring me in after that if you need. But then we know that this is the set expectation.
As you literally used the exact words where one of the things I wrote was basically pushing off responsibilities, where I would feel so consumed with everything that I had to do. And for me, like the time that I stopped drinking aligned with wrapping up college. So like wrapping up my adolescence and becoming an adult, and what that transition looked like and how I was going to manage that, and
Mhm.
basically continuing to push that off
Yeah.
rather than like step up, face the facts, like to line up the job interviews, to start building the social network, to figure out my path in life. I felt that I needed to know that basically as the clock hit midnight and I transitioned from a college student to an adult.
Yeah.
And like leading up to that, I found that I was drinking more and more because I was anxious, and I had a lot of what I like stress and responsibility that I was putting on myself to meet a certain standard in my life. And I would push it off with drinking, where it's like, hey, I should really be focusing on this, but we'll just go out and party. It's Wednesday night.
Mm.
That's what everyone else is doing. And so I'd push off what I had to do. I'd go out and party. And then the next day, like all of those feelings were compounding and so much worse,
Yeah.
because the next day you felt physically shittier, mentally shittier. And then it was like, let's just start that whole fucking cycle right over again the next day, right? Where it
Yes.
like, and it keeps compounding and getting worse. And like, I think of like the inadequacy, or like what we had kind of spoke about before, where it's like that imposter syndrome, and how all of that, and like having those habits and continuing down that path, it was compounding the way I felt, and it was also just like contributing to my lack of self-esteem at that point in my life, where
For sure.
I was so afraid of those things, and I wanted to be stronger, and I wanted to have direction, and I wanted to feel driven, but all of those things that I was afraid of, I was hiding and masking, and it was just making it so much worse
Mhm.
every single day.
Yeah. It's like drinking from a fire hose too, right? And it's just all of a sudden suffocating, and soon it's just like you're drowning, or like I loved what you said about waking up and doing that all over again. And I think
Yeah.
us and our phones and internet and social and being so accessible, it's just like constant stuff coming at us, and it's so
Mhm.
tiring. And I think one thing I learned over the last couple of years is that you don't need to get back to people. Like that took
Yeah.
me a while. Like you don't ever need to respond ever. And I was like, no, that's not me. That probably took me a good year, honestly. And I was like, that's not me. I have to. And now I'm like, no. Like someone
That
says, even family, Jamie, anyone, I'm like, says someone I don't like, I don't need to respond.
Yeah.
And
it's
I'm like,
so
oh my gosh, it's life changing. I'm like, wow, it's that easy. Like how dumb. Oh, I
that's
don't
why
need
I don't
to
like
cool.
that's why I don't like read receipts or even DMing with somebody,
Mm,
because like when you're DMing with somebody and they're active, they can see it. So I feel like if I don't want to talk to them anymore,
yeah.
I'm like,
Wait, Tyler, you know your read receipt is on, right?
yeah, I know. With certain
Oh,
people, I don't mind that my read receipt is on, but like
okay.
for
Yeah.
most of my contacts, it's not. So like even on DMs, when I'm DMing somebody and they're active and I don't want to talk to them anymore, I feel like I'm like ignoring them, or turning them off, or rejecting them in the middle of a conversation, right? Where
Mm.
I'll like get on, I'll DM somebody, make sure they're not active, and then like peace out to my other account so it doesn't look like I'm just bailing on them. Where even like text messages, it's like, okay, they can't tell what I'm doing, they can't tell if I'm like actually on my phone or not, so I can
Yeah.
leave them sit for a little bit and not feel so badly about it.
Yeah.
It's
But
even
just
like,
the fact that who cares, right?
I
I'm like,
know.
even emails, it happened today. I like got this thing with one of a partner that I like, but it was an ask. And I just like stared at it and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like I could do that. They were asking to share something, right? And I'm like, but why? I'm like, again, what? And not that it has to be about me, right? But I'm like, it's going to take my mental energy, like good half hour to do this. It's going to cause conflict with another vendor. And I was just like, for what gain, right? And
Yeah.
then I was like, I'm not even gonna respond. And I deleted it. And it actually felt amazing. I'm like, this is great. Like, we don't need to always respond.
Yeah. I was waiting in line to vote today, and actually the same thing happened at the airport. and I was just observing like couples in their 80s and late 80s, I would assume, and just like they're present. They're sitting there waiting for the plane, literally doing nothing. Just like sitting. I'm
I think
waiting in
that's called
line.
raw dogging it.
Dude, these old people were raw dogging the hell out of it. But like
Can you fathom?
waiting in line, dude, waiting in line today to vote, and this old guy's like, I'm gonna go sit down. And he literally just sat at a fucking picnic table and did nothing. Just sat there, just staring at nothing for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, there's something to be said for this, like the phone, the constant stimulation. That's like even the feelings of inadequacy. Like if you don't have self-esteem and you're not confident in yourself, to have a phone where you can look at what everyone else is basically creating this like narrative as to who they are and what they're doing just makes you feel so much worse.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, if I could live in my own little world and just like be waiting there without my phone, like it might be ideal.
But then we would have never met each other. See,
it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do.
That does sound refreshing, though.
Yeah, I was cracking up.
Another personal goal that you asked is, as I'm staring outside, I just finished watching the Martha Stewart documentary, and I'm like, so this last year I really got into gardening, and that was so amazing and therapeutic. And after just watching this documentary this past week, I actually wrote down, I'm like, I want what she has built with her gardening operation in her own home.
Yeah.
Is insane. And I'm
I
like,
feel like that's
want that.
Huge goal. Like Martha Stewart is like the.
Is she really friends with Snoop Dogg?
Oh yeah, and he like speaks so highly of her. Yeah, she's legit.
That's legit.
Yeah, it's legit. It was actually really, really good, especially from a female perspective, like getting into the industry, and like she was the OG influencer.
Yeah,
you know, things that she did to get past people, and it was very interesting. But no, in a sense of like home. And then I always think about all these things that it actually does to you, of like touching soil and all that. But I'm like, I want everyone that comes to my house, and this has always been a goal. Like, I want my home to feel like a sanctuary to anyone. I want it to feel safe. I want it to feel very like they feel an energy and a presence and a smell and all this. And I'm like, okay, I want to plot out just like all these areas each year that we're going to tackle. And then soon it'll be like, and then Jamie will be like, we're moving and we're building. And I'll be like, oh my gosh. Start over.
Damn it. You need like feng shui consultant.
I know. So I was thinking about that.
Are you into like gems and shit like that?
Yeah.
Are you really?
Rocks?
Yes. Hell yeah. This is
You didn't know that about me?
No. I mean, you've asked me a few times about like you reached out and asked when Nick's birthday was, like to know what his sign was. And then I'm like, I wonder if she's into like gems and earth stones.
Rocks.
Damn.
Crystals, oils, all that. I literally have sage, you guys. We burn that.
Do you really? Do you wear patchouli? I've never caught any scent of patchouli on you.
Yes. I'm like, I'm legit. I'm
you
like,
do?
yeah, I feel this. No, I know what it is.
Oh.
I've worked with that. No, but I'm like, when home, whatever, I'm like, we got to get in jail on our team. Worse than me. She's always like,
really?
Okay, yeah. And we'll look at the moon. We'll see what's happening. And we're like, okay, that client just has this right now. We just got to like bring this energy into their home.
That's sick. It's too bad you're sober. You can't smoke weed.
It's so fun.
Shrooms and weed.
Oh man.
Hippie tripping. It's so funny. You walk around with no shoes on so that you're grounded.
I go before it, like maybe when I'm like on the verge of going out, I want to go do one of those hippie thing, probably where they overdose.
Oh yeah, like go eat like peyote or some shit.
Yeah, but there's a place like you actually go and it's just like you're out of this world.
There's
like,
a few of them now, where you have to have like a guide to like walk you, like lead you through your trip.
Yeah.
What is it called?
What if we do it together? And he's like, Morgan.
No, I thought you just asked if we do it. I'm like, I'm out.
That shit freaks me out.
I know it actually freaks me out too, because I also don't like to mess with the devil. I'm like, no thanks.
I just like being in control.
Yeah, I hate.
And like when like somebody else isn't, like, I don't even like being a passenger in a car.
Yeah, maybe I'd hate that. I'm just interested in what's living in there still that I need to like tap into. I don't know.
That's how they get you. And then they're like, yeah, there's more. You got to dig deeper.
True. But then Jamie's like, you throw up during it. And I was like, okay, hard pass. I don't like that. Yuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people get like super sick. I don't know. I always felt like even if like kids in college were doing shrooms and shit, and I'm like, I don't know, if I have a bad trip and I like my anxiety gets the best of me and then it's just hours of me feeling like that, it's not going to be good. Just like peeling my skin off because I'm so uncomfortable in it.
I know. I don't like that either. No thanks.
I feel like if you're going to experiment with drugs, it should be at the point in your life where you're like, I've done all this shit. I've seen all this shit. I am very comfortable in this 85-year-old skin. Like, I'll fuck around with some peyote now. But it's like 18, 19, 16 when kids are doing that. It's like, this is not the age for that. You still don't know who you are.
No, I know.
I guess we're probably closing in on it soon. But
it's a topic for your podcast.
Yeah, obviously I have 2 daughters. I love what you're doing for the industry and being an advocate for female entrepreneurs. Being a mother, I think, is something that's very special, and not everyone is cut from the cloth that it takes to be a good mother, especially while working, owning multiple businesses, and trying to keep it all together. So what advice would you give to other women in your position or who wish to be in a position like you, just based on your experience over the past however long? I know you said you're 40, but I don't know if I believe it.
Wow. That was nice. Thank you.
You're
Before
welcome.
the podcast, I almost text you guys to be like, don't talk about anything that'll make me cry. Because last time I was on a podcast with these 2, I cried. And I'm like, I don't like to do that. I would say, and I tell a lot of moms this, I'm just like an entrepreneurial moms that like really crave. And I loved what you said, Tyler, to me once about just like, it's okay, like to want to have that. I think sometimes we're told, or society tells us, like we need to stay at home with our kids, or those kids come first and stuff like that. And I think that took me a while to like, I knew that, like I love working and I love, like, that's what lights me up. I love building, creating, like making something, like building families, building, all these things. But I'm like, I almost like hit it, right? Like I don't love to play with my kids, if I'm being honest.
Like you feel guilty about that because that's not the societal norm, and everyone tells you that you should.
Yeah, exactly. But I like to play with them as in like, let's go outside and like dirt bike and do stuff like that. But I'm like playing with toys and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. Like it would make me so uncomfortable. And it's like, I don't think I fully embraced it and said that out loud until someone like told me that it was okay. So I would just say that like, it is okay to not, to crave that kind of stuff and to do it. And then finding the balance too. Like, I just believe like my kids know how much I love them. And I'm constantly just like, I love you. I love you. I love you, and just like, they know because I give them like warm hugs at night and like showing up for the things that matter most to them. But all the other things, I'm like, I don't need to. It's okay. Like, I'm not volunteering at school. I'm not going on field trips. I'm not taking them to all these things after school. Like, we are a family unit after school and we're at home. Like, we're not doing things. We're not running around, but that's all they need. They just need that. And I think too, just like the best gift we can give them is like me and Jamie showing up as parents and being aligned and being respectful to one another. And I think, so just remembering that too, it's just like, there's so often, a lot of things that I'm just like, let it go. Like, many of my friends just like get hung up on things or get like fume about things and just like, and it builds this resentment. And I think that's one thing too, like that I work on every single day is like not living life in resentment. And that means every single day. And so if there's something eating away at you, like have that conversation and squash it and figure it out.
Accept it, like come to terms with it. You shouldn't be doing shit because like people expect you to, or because the fear of like essentially missing out, FOMO, right? Where it's like, I don't want to look back on this and say I should have done this, where it's like, why don't you focus on what works for you right now? Yeah,
we're told over and over, like, enjoy it while it lasts. It goes by so fast. And you're like, so does life. Like, so do all the things that I enjoy. And actually right now I'm working on, and Jamie too. I'm like, I want to write down like day by day, play by play what we do. Buying Back Your Time. This is from that book and it's so good. But everything that we're doing, and then we're ranking it to truly see like what lights us up. Because you know what? Getting out of bed in the morning does not light us up, or getting out of bed, getting our kids to school is like, it kills my soul. Like it is the worst thing ever. And so just by that, I'm like, hey, Jamie, there needs to be 2 days a week. Like I'm out of here. Like I'm going to the gym. I'm going straight to the office. Like I need that. Right. So we're kind of like ranking what we do every day and then figuring out, and being okay with it. Like it is okay, and accepting it and not having to feel like,
I mean, it's all just boundaries at the end of the day, like, and being okay with your boundaries, and understanding that, like, I feel like it's a lot of the message of sobriety and dealing with people like that in our lives, but like being able to detach with love and establishing these walls and these boundaries that work for us. And I don't want to say doing that like unapologetically, but like this is just what I need to do for myself. At the end of the day, sometimes it has to be that way.
Every day I say, that's a you problem. Like if I decide something and someone has a problem with it, I'm like, cool, that's a you problem. It's not my problem.
All right, so I lied. Go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say I have a you problem. I have a me problem. I have my kids' hockey stuff in my car, and they are at hockey.
Oh no!
Yes,
that sounds like I would do.
That's a me problem. But I'm gonna let Tyler wrap up. Morgan, always good to see you. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you. This was fun.
I have one. As Nick leaves, I do have one more question for you. I lied, and then I'll set you free.
Sounds groovy.
Then you could be free to be the good in your life. And nobody's gonna watch this and be like, why the hell do they keep talking about be the good? But she has this like wallpaper behind her that says be the good in like fake fluorescent lighting. Neon. What is one thing or like a habit or a person that inspires you daily to continue growing and evolving professionally and personally? Or like what inspires you to continue doing that?
So this is kind of funny because this is a mixture. So Chris loves Julia professionally. She's also a Mormon. Which I just recently found out. She professionally, because I think she does a beautiful job at showing up as, something I strive to be, where it's showing the housing community. She doesn't have that contractor aspect for sure, but she's showing home and she's showing business, and she's showing multiple businesses and what she's doing. And she does it with her husband and has kids. And so I just look to her for inspiration. And whenever I'm feeling a little bit burnt out and stuff, I just go and kind of dive in to her feet a little bit. I would say that's like more like higher celebrity status, if you will.
Sure.
And then just a funny one is Kristen Cavallari. I always look at her because I think she's such a badass, as like, she doesn't give a flying crap.
I don't know who she is.
Oh my gosh. You don't watch Laguna Beach? Come on.
No, sorry. I'm like not well, not even that. I don't know. What is that called? Like all those people, entertainment world. Like
reality TV. Yeah.
No, just even like, I don't know. Like I don't watch a lot of movies or TV shows. So I don't know. I don't know like names and people. So I don't know her, and I'm not a Laguna Beach person.
That's fine. She has a podcast, and I just think she's so hilarious. From a business aspect, like I just am always like, oh my gosh, you're so funny, and you have kids, and granted she's divorced, but like she just unapologetically like shows up who she is. Yeah. And then personally, gosh, okay. Well, I guess this is professionally too. Another one is A Drink with James, which is funny because he has a drink and it's a podcast, but he's just so funny and he's really smart.
Who is it? James who?
A Drink with James.
Well, who's the host?
James Nord.
I don't know him either.
And he owns a company called Fohr. So I go to them for a lot of like resources. I would say Rebecca Campbell, personally. Like I just look at her stuff daily too. And she's woo-woo, like crystals and whatnot. So I'm like, I like to read daily readings and weird stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. That's good. It's
Okay.
good.
I'm like,
I
there's a lot,
appreciate
like,
no,
yeah.
and I think that's a tough question. I think that like there's so many people who inspire me on a personal level, a professional level, and so many of them, which is crazy to me, are just people that I've surrounded myself with.
Oh, yeah.
Even like you and what you're doing and seeing what you're doing, and I know that you're looking at it from like your own internal lens, and it's 5-10 feet in front of you,
Yeah.
but from the outside looking in, not saying that you have it all figured out and it goes seamlessly, but just like seeing how much you're willing to take on and juggle and balance, and at least like being very deliberate with all of that. And it's
Yeah.
not perfect, not every day is perfect, but just being able to create a plan, formulate a plan, try and execute that plan, and at the end of the day be okay with that and just continue
Right.
to move forward, is definitely inspiring for me. So obviously I appreciate you taking the time,
Yeah.
coming on the podcast. It's always good to speak with you, see you, probably more than I've spoken with you than we have in person,
I know. It's
just with
crazy.
how chaotic it is.
I
But
know. In and out.
I'm I'm glad that you took the time to come on. I'm glad. I'm happy and grateful for your friendship and everything that
You.
you contribute to my life and business and lifestyle.
Likewise. Gosh, you guys are the best. I can't say
Cool.
more, or I will start
Are there any shameless plugs that you wanna give for yourself?
crying. No.
Website
Huh?
membership,
Oh,
website
oh,
membership.
yeah. So our website's constructionstyle.com. All of our resources are there and linked. That's basically every handle too. And then, yeah, we just launched a new membership. It's called the C2S Playbook, and it's more so curated towards content of how we do things. So a lot of it's a lot of marketing heavy things. I will say, so a lot different than what Nick and Tyler are doing with the courses, or even what we do at Contractor Coalition. It's definitely different. And then we host, or then we jump on a monthly call, but it's more so, yeah. Again, even that I overanalyzed, imposter, overlooked, right? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, do this or that, and I'm like, no, just share the playbook, what we
Yep.
do. The end.
Yeah. And
People, resources, connections, like that's what it's about.
we definitely need a better grasp and better handle on the marketing aspect of our industry. So
Yeah.
I think that's super helpful.
Yep.
Sweet. Is that it?
Awesome.
That's it? Everything at constructionstyle.com.
I mean, and Contractor Coalition. And if you're
Duh.
female listening to this, Build Her, we do a retreat in Costa Rica that is, yeah, for females that trying to just level up with the guys. And, we have a
Damn.
different thing that how we
Costa
have to
Rica.
show up like you guys. So, yeah,
That's
that's
sick.
only once a year.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
check it out. We'll get all your information and post it in the show notes and all that stuff. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you do for us.
So fun. Thank you.